Hi, in this tutorial, we're going to place our focus under Mathematics Paper 2. And as an exam build-up lesson, we're going to focus on a topic called probability, which is very vital and as an advantage if we're to understand it and be able to portray the idea in the exam of the external or internal grade 12 final exam. So we're going to find that when we talk about probability, this is everything about the selections that is done on items of the same type but containing different colors. In such instances, the question says a bag contains 3 red pens and 2 blue pens. Ending on the first full stop, it simply means in one bag there are categories of pens which are able to contain different colors. And it continues, a pen is picked at random from the bag and not replaced. That means that is our first selection, and that when its color is known and observed, it shouldn't be replaced. That's when the second pick should be able to be done. And then another pen is picked, then draw a tree diagram to show the outcome, and then you have 3 marks allocated. B, find the probability that both pens picked are red. The first and the foremost to understand, if we were to portray a very important idea to attract the marker's interest and provide the correct answer, is that we should be able to come up with the total outcome, such that we'll be able to know how many pens are in this bag, regardless of their coloring. Let's see. So the first step is we're going to say in this bag, we have 3 red pens plus 2 blue pens. Then we're going to find out this is giving 5 pens. So, which simply means in a bag containing 5 pens, 2 were blue, 3 were red in color. And then to answer a probability tree diagram, we always have to correspond with the number of colors that are present in the question. If we have 2 colors, we're going to have a 2 branched type of a tree. If we have 3 colors, we're going to have a 3 branched type of a tree. So we're simply going to say first pick. When we say first pick, the second thing we're going to draw a tree or a branch like this. Then we're going to showcase our colors. The first one is red, the second one is blue. Now, in order to allocate the numbers on the first pick, we're not going to affect any color to reduce in any way. Since the question says a pen is picked at random from the bag, this simply means the color from which this pen or the first pen was picked is not specified. Hence, it can either be picked from the pens that were red or the pens that were blue. So, between the two, one can be the first pick. But since it wasn't specified, we are to showcase like we can start with red or we can start with blue. So, to correspond with the numbers, we're just going to be saying, for a pen to be picked from red, we're going to pick the number of red, which is 3 over, the total was 5. So I'm going to say 3 over 5. Then on blue, how many were blue? 2. And then we're going to say over 5. So always in an exam, whether for this video or even as an idea when you're seated alone trying to practice to get up to self-reliance, you should ensure that on your first pick you don't affect any number. It means either of the colors that are given can be your first pick. Since the question we always specify like an item is picked at random, not specifying a color. Then we're going to have another branch here, which simply means if I start with red, I can end up with red, or if I start with red, I can end up with blue. Then also on blue, we're going to put the same, where we're going to say if I start with blue, I can be able to end up with red. If I start up with blue, I can be able to end up with blue. To allocate the numbers, we are then supposed to understand the language and not replaced. That simply means the color you are starting with will affect the same color of the same type. Implying like if I started with red, it means I picked from 3. If I end up with red again, I'm supposed to remain with a 2. This means if this shows that I didn't replace what I picked as a red, such that this remains a 2, it means even the total outcome is affected. So always in an exam, if there is a 10 here, there becomes a 9 here. If there is an 11 here, it becomes a 10, to show that the first selection wasn't replaced, hence affecting the second selection that will be done. So 2 over 4. But this blue simply means we haven't yet done it. So this simply means this is going to remain in its original way. So this becomes 2, but then the total is still 4. The same is going to happen when we encounter, say, let's say our first is blue. It means blue is going to be affected here in the sense that it will remain 1 over, the total remains 4. But it simply means if we started with blue, then this red should be in its original way, which simply means 3, but what's just going to be affected is the total. Having done that, it simply means in an exam, we're able to answer a tree diagram. And we can show this is red, red, well, we can put red, red if we want. Then this is red and blue, so we can put red and blue. Then this is blue and red, so we can say blue, red. Then this is blue and blue, so you can say blue and blue. Having done that, it simply means we have done what's expected to be done, especially considering the request in an exam to draw a tree diagram to illustrate or demonstrate the outcome. Then we go to B. Find the probability that both pens picked are red. So to answer this question, we are going to consider the language associated. So we're going to find the probability that both pens picked are red. So we're going to find that this is B, probability if both pens picked are red, and you have 2 selections of which there is the first pick, and then there is the second pick. We're going to find that if this is the second pick, this is the first pick, then the first pick should be red, and the second pick should also be red. So we're going to put the first red and the second red. And we're going to write those probabilities separately. Well, we're going to say probability of the first pick, red. Remember, this is the first red multiplied by probability of the second red. Now, we're going to go back to our diagram. From the first pick, this is our red. For the second pick, this is our red. Quite alright, there is this red and this red. But this red is only there because we started with a blue, which makes this red to be excluded. So I'm going to say red, red, which is here. So I'm going to multiply the outcomes. Red, red. So for the first one, it's 3 over 5. Multiplied by, for the second one, it's 2 over 4. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 2, it's going to give us a 6 over 5 times 4 is going to give us a 20. But the fraction that we have can be simplified to its simplest form, in the sense that in 6 we can divide a 2, in 20 we can also divide a 2. So 2 there, that's a 3, then 2 there, that's a 10. So the probability that both pens picked are red. Do not always forget the idea that a tree diagram would depend on the first pick and the second pick, but in the sense that the first pick will not always be replaced, hence it should affect the outcome or the color of the same type. Fam out there, I hope you find this video very much beneficial. Grab a paper and use some of the exam relatable questions in order to develop self-reliance. This has been Mr. Sensor from Sensor Academy School of Tuition. If you're watching this on YouTube, kindly hit on the subscribe button in order to get notified when next I post any video. If you're watching this on Facebook, kindly hit on the follow button, share the video, comment on the video, so that at least you're able to invite other exam devotees to find the same video very much benefiting. Till in the next video, for now, it's a very goodbye.